um, gonna put like that red reflection in there. And that's a little bit of like maybe like a little periwinkle gray right there that I was mixing into, and then I'm going into like, I think it's called, oh man, I think it's ochre from Eternal, and it's a good color. It mixes well, makes it a little bit more green because I probably mixed into a little olive, a little bit of gray, and a little ochre to get that color that I'm mixing right now. Mix a little bit of brown in there. Now trying to get into the light side, mix a little bit of brown, a little bit of bright red. Trying to make it a little bit more warmer as it hits the light. So right now I'm just going in there, I'm using a little bit of greens, a little bit of brown, a little bit of gray into the side of the cheek right there. Mixing all those colors together to make this kind of dirty color. I usually like my shadows to be a little bit more dirty, a little bit more rough, just because I like the way it looks, you know, the reflective lighting and all the cool colors going throughout the shadows. And the light side, I keep it pretty simple, as you'll see. You know, I'll just use pretty much straight up flesh tone colors. Right now I'm using a 5 round, just outlining that flower on the chin with that Bishop machine. It's running pretty good. My 5 round was a little rough this time. It was running a little hard, so I had to back it up a little bit. It looked like it wanted to cut. But it ended up working out really well. Like, the tattoo's healing up great. It's been about a week into the healing, and it's looking fine. You know, I got a couple little rough spots, but nothing major. You know, I think it's going to be really good, and I can't wait to see it fully healed. Yeah, so just back to that, mixing that gray, a little bit of dark brown, a little bit of blue, a little bit of like that olive. Oh no, actually that wasn't olive, that was like that indigo blue. So yeah, just going from the brown to the blue to that little bit of ochre to really get that like it's like a mustardy ochre color. Or you can either use mustard from Intense or like an ochre color from Eternal to get that same, pretty much same color with that mixture. I use either one, whichever I have available, or whichever one, you know, I'm out of, I'll just use the other. So yeah, just mixing a lot of that. I'm trying to get those weird greens right now. Right there I used a little bit of yellow ochre from Intense, trying to get that that nice yellow ochre color. Inside the bottom there's like, it's like a weird green, you know. If I really wanted to, looking at it now, like looking at it through different eyes, I could see far away. I'd probably use a little bit more green in the bottom of the chin, but it's not bad, you know, trying to get it close. You know, we're not trying to be perfect, just trying to get it close. Okay, so we're doing the flower now. I'm really trying to think of, okay, I'm going to do a red flower, okay? So that means the highlight has to be red. If I go into orange, if I go into pink, it's going to change it completely. It's going to make it orange or pink. So I have to go a darker value. So I go ahead and go dark and make sure I'm looking at the shape of the face and the way the shadow's dropping off the lip and across the chin, and making sure I'm showing that on the makeup that I'm trying to draw on there. And so then I go all the way up to red, and I think the brightest color I used on there was Tangelo from Fusion. You know, Tangerine is very similar from Eternal, and you can get it from Eternal too. But both those companies are very good companies with that color. They're very similar. So I'm going ahead and mixing some more black outline, just hitting the water so that way I can move it around a little bit. As you can see, I'm just trying to thicken up that line a little bit. I hit it twice, give it a little bit of line weight on the face. And I am just probably trying to see what's going on. Let me see. Yeah, just outlining it in black. Just trying to get those major shapes in there. I'm just trying to clean it up. You know, the line drawing wasn't perfect, so I had to like kind of clean it up as I'm drawing. Remember, the whole time you're tattooing, you should be drawing at the same time. Just don't rely on your stencil. Your stencil's your guide. So if you see something wrong, fix it. You know, don't just go with it because it's there. It doesn't mean it's perfect. Like, just try to draw. You know, you should always be drawing. When you're making the stencil, you're drawing. You know, when you're tattooing, you're drawing. When you're doing the outline, you're drawing. Trying to fix it. You know, trying to make it better than it was. So underneath the lip here, I'm really trying to stick this real warm shadow under there. I'm actually mixing some greens and browns into it as it gets a little bit away from the lip. You know, just trying to make it. You can see it in the picture. It got a little bit more gray, so I'm mixing a little bit more brown, a little bit more blue. That gray I was telling you. I actually got away from using a lot of the just straight up periwinkle color. I used that for years. I'm always trying to teach myself, so I'm really changing it up using the blue and the gray. And this looks amazing right here. I like seeing the ink in the rinse cups like that. It's pretty cool. So go ahead, and I'm using a little bit of like a burnt sienna, and from actually the burnt sienna is from Eternal, I think, or Fusion, one of them. I'm not really sure. I think it might be Fusion actually that the burnt sienna is from, and mixing it with that brown, trying to get that orangey, dirty green color. So a little bit of brown from Fusion right there. And then mixing just a little bit of that burnt sienna again. And just hitting the water, trying to get that cool color that I wanted in the cheekbone. Just trying not to mix any white to lighten it up. Just trying to keep it away from mixing the light. I'm just trying to keep all my whites in the light source. You know, this is kind of like what I was trying to tell you is the things I've been learning. Just trying to keep that real separate. You know, that way the whites in the light source look a lot stronger, a lot better. So just trying to really, really rinse out. And you can see I'm keeping one dark rinse cup and one light rinse cup. It'll probably get dirty here real soon, but as of right now, I'm still trying to keep a light rinse cup. So my dark colors don't go into it. So I'm using a little bit of burnt sienna, a little bit of red, and a little bit of tangerine, tangelo color into the skin. It must have not been right, so I'm going to mix a little bit of that ochre to it. As you can see, my ink's drying up a little bit. I really hate that, but unfortunately, where I live, it's a little bit dry and warm, and that's what happens. So you can avoid that with putting water on top and just kind of doing that stuff. So I'm just laying out that color. It's a real warm pinkish color, real warm into the cheekbone. It's actually reflective light bouncing off of that drapery and onto the cheek, onto the bottom right there. So I'm just trying to keep it looking the same without looking white. You really want to pay attention to value. I always talk about that stuff, you know, dark to light. I thought it'd be cool to do some blue outlining on the cheek. You know, like I said, I've been doing the filigree and the scrolling or whatever, like overlapping. So I just went and I don't like to do overlapping with black on black. I usually do red or gray or blue or something like that to change it up a little bit. So this is what I was talking about. So I go ahead and do a black into those little areas that separates the cheekbone and the jawbone, like if it was a skull. I do black in order to make it look different, so that way you do kind of see the skull and you kind of don't see the skull. And you can see that I'm filling it in right now, just trying to make it right. You know, I left that little, there's like this little ball coming off the filigree, so I left that little thing open so that way I could fill it in with a little blue later and just kind of make it look real cool. So I'm actually mixing that blue and that brown again to get that gray into that black. But yeah, just really trying to get that shape in there. See how it separates the jawbone to like the cheekbone, makes it a little bit different, but it's just makeup, you know. So right now I'm actually mixing to make that lighter and make that shadow area. I was mixing the exact same colors I was telling you, little tangelo, a little brown, and then I was probably hitting a little like flesh tone, like the ochre, or like a little bit of light of the flesh tones, little flesh tone, peachy flesh tone in there, a little bit of it, not too much. Just trying to make it that same value and that warmth that's in that picture. So yeah, that's exactly what I did right now. Is just put the blue in there. I used probably the little light blue that I had there and put it in the little filigree parts. And you know, you always want to make sure to put ointment on it. You know, it gets real painful for the client, especially working like this. You know, you're working kind of slowly up and you don't want it to dry out too much. So right here I'm using a little bit of like plum and red on the top lip, just because the light's hitting it less, and on the bottom of the very bottom of the lip it's a little bit more in shadow. But making sure to use that red, make sure it's warm. On the side of the face I'm using that red, keeping that warm, kind of the glow to the face. The body's warm, you know, it's like 98.6 degrees, so you want to make sure you show the glow from the body and the warmth. So I'm going ahead and just knocking those reds into the lip. I'm using a little bit of like plum and red, and then actually right there as it comes out of shadow and gets into light, I put on the very bottom underneath the lip, if you look right in between the lip and the chin, I put like a tangelo color, so that way, because the light's hitting it, you know, and it almost has this glowing warmth when I was looking at the picture. So I almost enhance it just because I like the way it looks, you know, and just make it look a little bit brighter, you know. So yeah, we're just going ahead and I'm going ahead and doing some of the flesh tone reflecting onto the white drapery. I mean, light's hitting the face and then bouncing off and hitting the drapery, you know. So it's actually coming through the other side too. So you really want to show that. It'll make it look a little bit more realistic, a little bit more believable. Right there, I'm probably using a little bit more greens as it comes out, just getting away. Starting to use some purples and stuff. And these are all colors I'm going to use throughout the face too. I mean, I use all these colors throughout the whole thing to make it look believable, like it's in its setting. You know, I'm really trying not to put too many colors out and make it look like real crazy and trip it out, because it just won't be believable. But it's fun, you know, it's a tattoo. You got to have fun and just, you know, not be too stressed on all this stuff. But right here, I'm just mixing up and just trying to do some purples and whites and mixing all that stuff together and just kind of using some flesh tones in there and just having fun. You know what I mean? Just having fun and mixing colors, trying to do what I see, but also trying not to be perfect, almost just painting, you know, just having fun with it, just going fast. You know, making decisions as fast as you can and just looking at the color and trying to get as close as you can. But really, value is important, you know, because I could probably use any color in that spot, and as long as the value is right, you know, it's going to work. You know, you really got to pay attention to the value. You know, if you don't understand value, what it is you're black to white, you know, and you know, you got to make sure that, you know, you can have a red and you can have a green, and they can be the exact same value when you turn it black and white. That's why I say, you know, if you ever take my seminar or anything like that, you know, I always take my tattoos and go into Photoshop and show you that I'll turn it black and white and show you that they hold up just the same in black and white as they do in color, to show you that I'm really thinking about value first and foremost before I'm thinking about color theory or anything like that. So you really want to pay attention to that stuff. Right here, he's bleeding a little bit more just because I'm hitting that shin and I'm trying to get that color packed and, you know, really trying to get in there. You got to be really careful, real gentle with that shin, you know, easy to chew it up, easy to overwork it. So I'm really trying to clean my machine out. You know, I've been going probably on this tattoo easily now 2.5 hours, maybe even 3. You know, my machine's starting to get dirty. I make sure to put a little green soap, or if you're using dial, a little bit of dial soap into those rinse cups. Make sure you're cleaning your machines out. You know what I mean? It'll help clean out your machines a lot easier, a lot better. I know people that stick alcohol in their rinse cups just so it breaks down that ink inside the tubes, because you know how it is, man. Them tubes get dirty inside from tattooing all day. It dries up just like on the outside of the ink caps, and it'll really change the way your machines are running. So just make sure to keep those clean. Right now I'm using a lot of browns on the outside, just trying to block in, you know, my stencil is warm, like I said. I'm just trying to block in those shapes on the outside of the drapery. To me, the outside of the drapery isn't as important as inside the face and the makeup and stuff, so I'm really just trying to get that down, you know. So I am trying to get that bottom of that chin in there, just there's a little reflective lighting, and just trying to get that pink. Guess I'm rinsing that pink out. That was doing the lips. Guess it wasn't right. So now I'm just trying to clean that water out. Yeah, you can see my little watercolor looking dental bib from like throwing the ink down from my rinse cups. So yeah, I'm just going to go ahead and do that pink again. To make this pink right here, I'm actually using yellow ochre and red. It makes it really bright, really warm, really rich. I really like it. And I'm actually going into white from there and making it a little bit more lighter in value. But if you use little yellow ochre or even yellow with red, I know it makes orange, but if you do it right, it'll make a really, really bright, like rich pinkish red sometimes if you stick a little bit of white in there. So yeah, just really drawing it in there and drawing the shape of the nose, making sure I'm paying attention to the shape of the nose, because it's very easy to mess the nose up when you do these black noses like this. You need to really make sure you pay attention to your highlights. You know, the reflective lighting underneath the nose is important to get in there. You know, the way the light source is coming over, as you can tell, I put the warmth underneath the nose to really keep it like there's a warm shadow underneath the nose, like it's in light. Really paying attention to them highlights, man, because you know, you get rid of those highlights on them noses like that, and that tattoo is gonna look so off. It's gonna look really bad. So you got to pay attention. You can see how I'm paying attention to the shape. You know, it may not be perfectly her nose, but I mean, this is just a Day of the Dead portrait. It's not meant to be completely 100% perfect. It's more just meant to have the feeling of those faces and the makeup, and just really paying attention to the value and shape of the nose is more important than losing it and just not making it look right and overthinking it. Just make smart decisions, you know? So I'm going to go ahead and do the pink in the cheeks. The cheeks got a little bit more pink to them, you know, a little more blood flow to them. So as it comes out of shadow, I'm mixing a little bit more red into my browns and really trying to make it believable, like it's starting to curve into light. So just hitting that. It's a little bit of tangerine, really making that come out. I've really been liking the tangerine. I've been messing with colors a lot and just kind of changing it. But I'm using dark red here to outline these. I guess what these would be like the little flowers. You know, these are flowers around the eyes. Usually they put flowers into the sockets of the skulls, so that's what these represent. And you know, just I don't know if everyone knows what Dia de los Muertos is. It's a holiday in Mexico, and you know, it's just celebrated in remembrance of the dead. So that way, when people have this stuff, it has to do with a Mexican holiday, and you know, it's got a little bit of culture to it. So I think it's really cool. You know, I really enjoy doing them, being, you know, Mexican myself, and my dad being from Mexico, and it's just really cool to be tattooing stuff like this on people, even if they don't know what it has to do with or anything like that. I think it's cool to drop a little bit of my culture on the world and have them enjoy the look of it. You know, I think it's cool, and you know, thank you for all those people that have let me do them. And I honestly, people always ask me all the time, are you tired of doing them? I'm doing so many of them. You know, I think a lot of people do get tired of doing them. But really, I really don't. I enjoy it. You know, I think they're really cool. I'm always looking for new pictures of women and taking new pictures just to like get a new face to work off of and draw different makeup. I usually draw the makeup on the fly there. One of the artists that has really inspired me for this stuff is Sylvia G. You know, I had seen a lot of stuff like this for a long time, you know. And I liked doing them, but man, when I seen her stuff, it was like refined to the point where I was really inspired and started doing them, and had a chance to tattoo a few of her art pieces. And then from there, I just, you know, I enjoy doing my own now. You know, I just enjoy not even looking at her stuff as far as like before I draw it, and just kind of making it up and making it my own, you know, and choosing the colors on my own, and just really going with it. So I thank her for the inspiration, but now I'm really enjoying just taking my own take on it. And you know, that it has to do with my culture. It really excites me to do them on people, you know. So I just think they're very pretty. I actually want one on myself. So yeah, you can see here the stencil's starting to wipe away, but you know what? Now I use it as a guideline. Like, I'll put out the stencil I made if I end up losing the shape of the piece, you know, because the guideline really is just the filigree on the face now. Now I can use that as like, you know, I don't know if you ever took art classes or anything, you know, and they make you draw in squares and you copy, you know, this picture off of the 1-inch squares and blow it up. And that's kind of how I use the filigree and the makeup. You know, I kind of use it as like a guideline, and I kind of eyeball it and make sure it's in the right spot. So if you end up losing your stencil and you end up stressing out, just go ahead and put your stencil out, or put the picture you actually drew out, and you can just look at it from there and use the guidelines from there. And it really helps, you know. It really makes it a lot easier because there's not much to fill in there. It's very simple and very, you know, just there. So like I said, just be confident with your decisions. You know, so we're probably easily, I mean, in this tattoo, I'm thinking I'm 4.5 hours and 4 hours in, you know, a very slow tattoo. Just trying to build up them shadows. I'm using a lot of brown, I'm using some greens in there, some reds, and some purples, trying to just get them shadows like it's believable, like it's out of the light. I'm not really mixing any white into my shadows, not trying to make them too light. As it comes in, right there was really, really hot spot there, so I added that little tangerine in there. Just trying to clean everything off. So yeah, just trying to make sure them shapes. Look at how I'm doing these sockets, okay? So the light comes down while the brow is there, underneath the eyebrow. That goes out of light because the light's not hitting it. As it comes back into light, it's on top of the eyelid. Okay, the bottom eyelid is not as much in light. So you really want to pay attention to that. Even if you go a little bit more crazy and just make it darker and lighter, it's going to look right. But I see a lot of people don't mess with the value. If it's going to help you, you know, the reference you're using, make it black and white so you can see what it's doing. Maybe darken it up and make it black and white so that way you can see how dark the socket should be, you know. It's really going to help you to do that. But I would definitely think about the way the light's hitting it and what's underneath and what's on top. So that way, you know, the bottom lid is underneath, not as much light hitting it. The top lid's on top, so there's more light hitting it. You know, just pay attention to that. So when you go to darken up, of course, the bottom lid's going to be darker, top lid's going to be lighter. You know, things you want to think about. So I'm going ahead and do this blue here. You know, I like to fill these parts in blue and make them right. So I'm just filling it all in. I'm just trying to get it all there and using a little bit of value in those little circles and just trying to make it look cool. You know, so right now I'm just kind of using that indigo blue, and I think that's from Eternal, and I mean Intense, I'm sorry, not Eternal. Intense, it's an indigo blue. I think that's actually a Mike DeMasi color too that he had been using. But I'm also mixing that into my brown and that medium blue color from Fusion. So just making that cool little gray in there. Right now I'm just blocking it all in, just trying to get in there. You can see my stencil starting to wipe away. Tattoo's taking a long time, but it's coming together, you know? It's coming together, and I'm pretty happy with the results right now, you know? My brother is in a little bit of pain, and I'm feeling a little bad for him, you know? Long tattoos hurt, you know? On the legs are sensitive, you know? But he knew what he signed up for. I guess we all know what we sign up for, right? When we're getting tattooed, it's not fun. But we go through it because you end up with a beautiful piece you enjoy, and it's cool, you know? So I'm thankful for everybody that gets tattooed by me and that can sit, you know? It's rewarding, very rewarding the same day to be able to finish a piece like this. So yeah, just using a little bit of brown here, a little purple, you know? I'm like wiping him away. I'm sure it looks a little painful right now. I'm sure he's hurting. So yeah, just using brown and purples in the hair right there, trying to get those dark shadow parts up. Mixing a little bit of light brown in there, a little bit of them flesh tones in there to get them light colors. I'm really trying not to put any colors out that I don't need, you know. You see me drop some stuff on there right now with a paper towel. Actually, that's Bactine. I use a lot of Bactine on my clients that I work on for a long time. It's really good. It's an antiseptic and anesthetic, so it helps out with numbing it, helps out with cleaning it, you know. So it's good stuff, you know. I try not to use it too much, but sometimes I'll use a whole bottle on a client if they need it, you know. I really don't mind. It's a $5 bottle, and if it makes my clients a little bit more comfortable, hey, it's worth it, you know. I'm all about making my clients happy and comfortable. So right now I'm mixing a lot of weird greens. She had a little bit of blonde in her hair. I'm mixing some of that like olive I put out, and I'm mixing a little bit of that yellow ochre into it, a little bit of orange into that, you know, try to get that hair color. I'm leaving, you know, the values, all the light values, anything like basically like a 3 and up, I haven't put in. So all my light values aren't completely in. I'm just kind of, you know, wiping away and just trying not to make it dirty, because if I go and do some light values, I could drop some black in there and it's just going to be dirty. It's going to darken it. So